Hawkins doing an interview and he's freaking crying because he's not playing well.
Oh.
Here.
Sorry for crying, but this shit hurts, man. I really wanted to come in and impact the program, and some of the stuff, the outcome, obviously wasn't what we wanted, but if someone asks me if I regret coming here, I tell them, I don't regret being
Damn.
Okay, right?
Sorry.
So it's like heavy.
team,
Yeah.
coaches.
So somebody posts, this is what I saw. The reason why this made this in my feed, because sports doesn't show up in my feed. The reason why it showed up in my feed, because the person that posted that said, I want to feel bad, but Coleman Hawkins made $2 million in NIL this year. He's 23. He's set for life, yet fan noise made him play poorly. This is out of control. And then somebody that I follow posted, $2 million isn't set for life,
I
just
know,
so we're
that's,
clear.
That's my
Right?
thought immediately.
Yeah,
but-
so I was like, look, one, I like that it made it to me because the reality is people don't realize $2 million a year is a shitload of money. I'm not going to say it's
course,
not.
yeah.
But $2 million a year after taxes and you're paying your manager and all that, what, $1 million? Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so now
after
you got $1
tax
million
plus your agent.
Yeah.
He either paid somewhere between 5 to 20% on that.
Okay, so maybe it's even less, but let's say he's got $1 million, right?
Okay, yeah.
How are you investing it? If you're like having to be set for life, you're living off yield, right?
Yeah.
So what's the yield that you can count on knowing there's going to be corrections? 7% is generous, but let's just say 7%.
Yeah.
And you want to maybe put a couple $100,000 in cash reserves, you're making $50,000 a year. You're not living off $50,000 a year at 23 years old.
No.
And saying you're set for life.
Especially not with the spending that you've. Thank you.
Yeah, but I don't
Especially
know.
not
My
with the-
heart kind of. I mean,
Are we going?
I felt for him,
Dude, I
because
do
he's
too.
a kid, and
Man.
there's pressure involved.
Yeah.
It's like, when you see somebody cry like that in front of the camera, it's real.
It's real. I'm really passionate about this stuff. I was having a conversation yesterday with a agent and marketing manager team who manages a lot of high profile athletes, I'll just say. And from high school now through the pros. And the high school athletes, I have talked to several who are making these big commitments, right? I'm always imploring athletes, particularly at that level, they have a couple of moments, especially when they're big recruits, to capitalize on attention, right? And so you and I know we're passionate about social and owning your own narrative, and what we're doing right now is an example of that. But they have a moment when they want to announce where they go to school, when they have all eyes on them. Everyone has been waiting for probably 3 to 5 years. And the moment where people care most is when they announce where they're going. So this young man went to Kansas State, and his commitment post or video, I guarantee you, got a ton of traction. And that is usually the highest leverage point. And then, but to get to that point, I've talked to several of these high profile recruits, and they literally want to hurry up because I've been involved in some of these announcement videos and talking to their families about how they can leverage this. And they are so ready to make their commitment because everyone around them, this one young man said to me that since the moment he turned 14, for the last 4 years, every single conversation he's ever had is involved where he's going to go to college and his commitment and all that. And so I think like the business surrounding sports, college sports in this instance, is on a professional level, but we're dealing with teenagers and, young men in their early 20s and young women. And we've also set aside the fact, I have an 8-year-old son right now, and we watch out there, like he's a deep competitor, man. This kid's just upset. He's really a competitor and wants to win. And he didn't go to Kansas State thinking that he was going to miss the tournament or that they were going to get beat. He went there because he wanted to win a championship.
Right.
And I think people who don't maybe have a competitive spirit or who don't want to do a good job at their job, no matter how much you're getting paid, if you fail at your job, you're upset.
Yeah.
But there's something that happens when we put a ball in someone's hands or we see them on a television, they become inhuman to us. And I am such an athlete advocate because I think, sure, this kid can be making $2 million, but he's also a competitor. He's also a young man who's trying to work out his maturity, his growth, his emotions in a very public eye that all the people who are tweeting, the 23 million people who have seen that, literally probably a fraction of a % of them have ever had to deal with the scrutiny and the eyeballs that he has.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know. I guess in my world, it was Ryan Sheckler. Do you know who that is? Ryan Sheckler?
Check.
he
Melon
was the-
athlete.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he was the one that was like young
Yep.
on TV making like real money. And it was at an age where we were all like, dude, it's just got to be a hard experience to go through. Like fame, eyeballs, money, before you've kind of matured to be able to understand it. I feel for that. I mean, speaking on that
yeah.
video, like that was real. How do you navigate through marketing and being like a real person
Yeah.
versus like creating an image? Do you think it's
Yeah.
better to create an image and a character and stick to that? Like maybe, I don't know if Conor McGregor did that or if that's just his real personality.
Sure, yeah.
But how do you blend those two? Or do you not?
To be honest, brother, I'll speak for myself, but I travel around teaching personal branding. And I think a lot of the same principles apply to a company brand, but let's talk about individuals because that's where we're at. I think so many people, when they hear personal branding, they immediately go to the external. And I believe personal branding is so much more of an internal exercise. What we are trying to understand is who you are, what drives you, what are your motivating factors, what are the passions and things that you care about, who do you want to serve? I believe the best brands are built on serving others. And so what I am trying to do when I'm working with people, and myself included, I just spent a week away, and we can talk about that, but I feel for kids half my age trying to navigate all this, and I have a fraction of it, and brother, I am flying around with like, I can't manage it all. But so to answer your question directly, I think that we try to find out internally who we are, like authentically, and that is such a buzzword, but like, who are you actually and what drives you? And then how do we make that the thing that shows up externally? And then you're not having to keep a character. You're not having to keep an image. You're just being who you are. And that is the thing that people resonate with so much. I'm reminded of that time and time again. The tagline that I have when I give these talks is that when I learned, I shared my story of overcoming heroin addiction and incarceration. The first time I did that in the public eye, what I realized is that we admire people in their strengths, but we connect with people in their struggles.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you want to know that other people are human beings.
Right.
And I literally just last night, I posted a story after being a week away and spending time with my family and even spending a couple of days by myself. And I just shared a story about how, man, it's been... me blowing in here like 45 minutes late on the phone call with one, texting another, trying to working with my social media manager on the other, and my family back. Like it's a lot to navigate. They're all quality problems at this point, but they're still problems nonetheless.
Right.
Just like this young athlete is dealing with as well.
So let me ask you this then. If it's all about being real, and if you're going to be on social media, like being authentic, how do you go through something like reinventing yourself? Like, is reinventing yourself a tactic that you're using from a business standpoint? Like a lot of artists do this, right? Like
Totally.
artists will drop a couple albums, you resonate with them, and then it kind of becomes stale because you're used to it. And then they're trying to figure out something new that kind of, brings some of the relevancy back.
I think often more what happens is that an artist is a creative and is drawn to the novel and wants to do new things constantly. The outside forces are constantly forcing you into the thing that they want you to be. And so when you diverge from that, the peanut gallery or your audience that you've built is like, hey, this isn't what I'm used to. I don't like this. What is this? Go back to the whatever that you used to be doing. And I think, you and I probably deal with this at times. We have the audience that we've built, and the algorithms are so smart, but they shove you into this kind of corner of what you can be known for and what they can predict and to find an audience. And if you diverge from that, they're like, whoa, hold on, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And I would guess yours is probably
I
more
do,
around
though.
personal finance and business, or you probably you've been through this. You're a professional skater, and now all the content that probably most people know you for is like personal finance.
Yeah.
And so like I bet in that transition, did your engagement just plummeted, right? They're like, what's happening here?
It was brutal.
Yeah. I go through the same. Like I've realized just as recently as yesterday, I want to post like golf memes and swings and fun things like that. Again, this is a quality problem, but people want me for my brain. They want my analysis. They want my reporting on what's going on, and they want me to break down what they're seeing in sports culture and sports marketing. And sometimes that frustrates me, but overall, I think it's a absolutely quality problem.
Do you like? I might be assuming this just because I know you and we talk golf, but it felt to me like you were kind of getting pulled into the golf niche. Is that not correct?
Oh, well, I want to be in the golf niche. I mean,
we all want to be in the golf niche.
I mean,
Jeez.
but I have realized like within you can go, okay, there's a niche of golf, and then there's like within it you have like your barstool bros who are whatever pounding beers and doing drinking challenges on the course, right? That's not me. You have your incredible swing people, maybe like Grant Horvat, right? Like he's a beautiful swing. People love watching, or Mac Boucher or whoever. Like it's a hole-in-one trick shots. Any of these people who you're like, oh, that is really entertaining to watch this person's golf swing. And so that's like golf swing algorithm. And I'm not that.
Me neither.
Right? Neither me or you. And we're trying to, we wish we could be that, but we're not.
I know.
And so I don't know, at the end of the day, I do think like to go back to the artist creative thing, like we kind of do the thing that we enjoy, and sometimes it's not going to hit, but ultimately it will carry through. And so I created this, when I teach branding and even when I do these exercises, I kind of write down. So in the corporate world, I define myself as creative, collaborative, and a communicator. And I'm obviously like, this week I'm sitting down, I'm thinking like, because I've, the transition to entrepreneurship in the last 2.5 years has been interesting. It's been so fulfilling in some ways, and there's other things that I really miss. And I've been thinking about, okay, what are the things I really enjoy doing? I really love doing like golf content together. Like when you and I go, like it's super fun. I went with my buddy Paul Ripke recently, and we did like barefoot golf stuff. And that's like, I just love being with people. And so I realized on my 3 things, like creative, I can do that through making content, through writing, all these things. Communicative, I do that in keynote speaking, and I feel like I get that even through social as well. But collaborative, I have not been as much. Like I'm a solopreneur, and so I'm not getting to collaborate as much. And I need to be thinking about, so that's a great example to me of like internally, what is my brand externally? That's what people know me for. And those are also things that drive me. I need to regularly be doing analysis of like, well, what are the things that fill my cup or that actually give me energy? And I'm realizing collaborative is thing that I need to do more of.
Right. Yeah, that's why I wanted all the employees in the office.
Yes.
I like being around people too. I cannot do the solo
Remote
thing. It's
work.
too hard for me.
And I'm a staunch advocate for it in some cases, and in other cases,
It's so funny. I just brought that up. Not even I totally forgot about your scenario.
Oh yeah,
where you were in office and then you went through, the world changing, and then went remote, and then worked out here. That ultimately changed your life.
Indeed.
I forgot all about that.
Oh yeah. So I was fighting Nike heavy on like, hey, why wouldn't you let people work remote? Marketing is the function that needs to be in the office least. In fact, you can make a case that marketing would do their job best if they were out in real markets. And I'm completely bolstered by this. I've been listening to this guy, Rory Sutherland. Have you ever come across this dude? He's like an ad exec at Ogilvy, and he's like just incredible. I can't wait to read his book, but listening to him in the last 36 hours, and I'm completely emboldened by this. And he just had this one anecdote that he was talking about. He said, ad agencies really went wrong when they started to send the account people out to do site visits at companies. And he said, like, so for example, the creative people, like when budgets were bigger, the creative people used to go on those visits. And he gave an anecdote about the ad agency team going to visit Audi. They were about to be a client. And this guy looked, and the creative guy is kind of wandering off into the factory workers and just kind of taking it all in. And the account guy, like, hey, come on, we got people, we got time, we got meetings. What are we doing? And he's staring at this sign that speaks in German. And he has this light bulb moment. And I forget what the German phrase was. It eventually became the tagline of the marketing in England, because the positioning that they needed to drive home was that this is German made and it's not a British car. And so German is aspirational to a lot of people. And so you need your creatives to be like wandering off in the studio. You need them to be out in a market. You need them to be seeing, but at the same time, you need to come back together to then be able to collaborate and do all that. So we don't have to have that debate here. But yeah, that was the challenge that I had. I needed to live here in Texas. We're recording this here in Texas. I'm so glad y'all are here. And I have not been here, coincidentally. And yeah, so I was fighting Nike heavy on trying to let me work remote, and they didn't owe that to me. I don't think. I've seen some of Jamie Dimon's stuff recently. I think he's completely right. You know, if I owned a business.
I loved that Jamie rant.
Dude, that rant was so good.
That Jamie rant was so good.
It's so good. Yeah. I mean, I get it. And at the end of the day, you know, I had this video that one of my early tastes of like vertical video going viral is like my goodbye video at Nike. And the whole thing was this concept that I wrote, which was like, hey, Nike's not, the implication was they're not letting me work from Texas, but they let me do so many other things.
Right.
Like they let me follow a lot of my dreams and my passions. They let me go to Paris and Milan and New York and London, and they let me work on incredible things. They let me collaborate with artists like, you know, Heron Preston and Virgil and Joe Freshgoods and all these people. And so, yeah, it was a great time and a great source of my career. And like so many things, that pain and that struggle have now sent me into a new dimension, which has been great.
So bringing up something like Audi or Nike, what separates a brand from, let me think of the best way to say this. Why do some brands last generations and some brands are out of here within 5 years? Where do the brands that don't survive go wrong?
Well, the video that I just can't, if I had 7 more minutes to post this morning, I'm actually saying the best marketing cannot be measured. And I feel this deeply. And again, I'm just emboldened by this cat. Rory Sutherland has been talking about it. And he said, he has this concept that he's talking about how the management consultant people and the tech companies and this tech boom and the engineers have kind of cannibalized the creatives in these organizations. And they can come in with their spreadsheets and their data points and say, like, these are the things we need to be doing because there's a direct return on investment immediately. But if you think about branding itself is irrational. A good definition of a brand, of the value of a brand, is the delta that someone will pay for a good or service, the delta between the cost of the good and actually what they will pay. So, you know, these Lusso clouds that you're wearing are probably retail for $100. I'm going to guess that it didn't cost them $100 to make. It cost maybe 20. You know, after shipping, and I don't know. Next week it'll cost 30 after the tariffs or wherever they're importing it. But and I don't mean to laugh about that because I don't think it's a laughing matter. But you know,
everyone in the room is laughing right now.
Indeed, yeah. So. But that's the value of a brand. I literally saw this in Academy Sports last week. There were 2 basketball nets. I needed to get a basketball net for my son. We got an old goal, and we needed to replace the net. And there was one net, no name, $2.99. And there was the NBA official net right next to it, literally the same product for $12.99. And so the value of the NBA brand is an additional $10 for a net. And so that just shows the power of branding. Again, the ones who last longest, Nike, for example, has lasted for 40 years. And I have to give Nike a lot of credit. Like I'm critical of Nike at times, and then I'm also, it gave me so much. I think Nike, and during my time, I'm definitely more lean on the art versus the science. A lot of times at Nike, it was like you lick your finger and hold it up to the wind and be like, was that cool? Yeah, that was cool. Okay, success. You know, we didn't have to present, like, of course we did recaps and showed all the engagement and the metrics and everything, but a lot of time, there was a ton of latitude to just say, like, do we think this will be cool? Do that thing. And that is a case that this gentleman is making a lot. And I think the creatives, and you would know the skate world is so much about that. Like, what is cool? You can't define it. You couldn't put that on a spreadsheet that Sheckler was just cooler, or that there was some data point. Now today we could say social following and all that. But like when you're just at the skate park, like in the early days, there's something that like this dude just has it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and it was very hard to tell. Like you knew like who was big, but there was no data to support it. We just knew Chad Muska was huge.
Yeah.
We just
Well, that's like
was he bigger than Mike York? I think so.
right.
I don't know why.
Well, and it's
So then let me ask you this, going off of that.
Well, let me just finish that real quick. So Nike just went through this. They brought in an outsider, John Donahoe, who had great success at Bain Management Consulting Company. He was the CEO there. He had great success at a place like PayPal, and I believe he was on some other Silicon Valley, some big one, I forget. But like those are all very like data-driven things. And he brought in, I think at some point people felt like Nike needed to move into this new digital era, but so much of the digital era is quantified by like, what's the conversion rate and what's the ROAS and blah, blah, blah. And you put this much paid and you get this much back and you get a 5% whatever conversion metric. And so they optimized for that. Well, what happens when you do that? You lose your brand. You lose the cool factor. You lose the undefinable thing. I'm searching for the word because it's like there's so much of this intangible benefit that is reliant upon doing the thing, not because it's going to lead to a direct sale tomorrow, but because it creates an aspiration that you want to be a part of over the long term. And there's this, the book that I cannot stop thinking about is, I read it a couple of years ago. I think I've told you about it, but Nassim Taleb. And the way I discovered this gentleman was that somebody was saying it was Talebian thinking, but he talks about these fat tails, long tails. He actually wrote the Black Swan event about the financial crisis. And, this dude in the creative was saying that, creative and cool and brand and marketing actually have a very long tail. And if you look at a graph, like right now, everybody wants to optimize for the thing that's going to spike immediately. The conversion rate is going to go up, or, you're going to get this many eyeballs tomorrow. And actually, brands are built over time and they exponentially grow bit by bit, but they're often not going to spike early. They need to grow over time. And fame is the same way, and content creation, and you experience this, the snowball effect that has over time.
So then so brand marketing and sales marketing, two different things.
Yep.
On the sales marketing side, you want to have your metrics and your things like ROAS and conversion rate and cost per acquisition, all of that,
Of
right?
course.
Are you saying that there needs to be a correct balance of the two? Or are you saying just focus on brand and you're going to sell?
No, I mean,
Create
of course,
it and they will come.
Of course, there needs to be a correct balance.
So what
But
is
this
the
gentleman
balance?
made this incredible case that's like, the analytical people have come in and kind of bullied everyone in, a corporation or in marketing tables where they can show you their spreadsheets and data points. And creatives often have to go in front of the analytical people to justify their idea. But analytical people never have to go in front of the creatives and justify their idea, even because they often have their like data points in their spreadsheets. But if you were a creative person and just thought like, yeah, I mean, I see what you're optimizing for, which is a sale tomorrow, I would tell you that sacrifices your brand right now, or that sacrifices your brand in the long term. So you may spike. And so when we optimize for like conversion tomorrow, we may be giving up cool in the long term, which ultimately lead to long-term sales and higher sales over time.
Oh, because if I'm an accountant,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at you going, Jordan, cool. But like I'm looking at, I put these dollars in.
Sure.
I get this amount back.
Yeah.
And then when I present that to my investors, they look at that as a wise money decision.
Of course.
And then I look at you and go, okay, I understand that you're building a brand.
Yep.
I get that we might make more revenue in the future, but I have no ability to quantify that. So it feels like this is loose money, or we're just kind of being wild with our spending.
Totally.
How do you explain what you just said to an accountant or an investor so that they feel comfortable with it?
Well, they may not, but they're also not the brand builders, But you and I have an example of this in content. Sitting here right now, we have lights, camera, microphone, two brilliant gentlemen who are helping run these things. You've flown all the way to Texas. I don't know if you can put an actual dollar amount of like, you put this amount in, you're going to get exactly this amount out in the early days.
Yeah.
But you invested in content from the very beginning.
Right.
And I have seen this now as well. And again, this gentleman talked about what has happened to his life after someone started posting TikTok clips of him doing the thing, just yapping about this stuff. And he said, like, it basically increases your surface area for the potential for a lot of upside. And you cannot put a quantifiable dollar figure on people coming to you. And there is a cost to that, which I am going through right now. Again, absolute quality problem. Every single day I have DMs of people like, hey, I want to talk to you about my business. Hey, I'd love for you to be an advisor in my thing. Hey, will you come? Can we meet? Can we connect for 15? I want to tell you about this thing. Or will you help me with this athlete? They're going to be the next big person. And it's like, that is a much better problem to have than, knocking on people's door going, hey, just me again. Hey, just if I could just get a word with you. When they're coming to you, what value do you put on that? That it is a invaluable resource to be able to have. And so I do think it's hard sometimes to talk to an accountant, but it's like, what are we optimizing for? And I've experienced this on my own. I probably invested a little too much in my like brand identity and stuff like that. But when I did it on the front end, I don't have to make that decision ever again. And the power of content and brand is just exponential return. If we are constantly obsessing our views and whatnot, and we always want to go viral, but like, dude, if you had a video that had only 5,000 views, you'd be like, oh, that's, crap. But like, if it's 500 people who all want to invest in commune, that's a huge number. Right. And 10,000 people is a small stadium.
I know.
It's just crazy.
I know. I know. It gets distorted easily when you're like, if I spoke in front of 10,000 people, that'd be massive.
Mega.
So then, maybe this is a good way to say it. I want to get your perspective on this. There's a massive difference between creating demand for a product or service and then selling a product, right? When you create demand, and this is kind of what you just said, you're bringing people to you that want to purchase your thing instead of trying to convince them to buy from you. How do you create demand so that people come to you and want to buy your service or your goods?
Well, again, this gentleman I thought he had a great definition of marketing, which says it's you're basically creating awareness and then you're framing the cost of the product. So let's say like if you're a luxury good, you are creating awareness that this luxury thing exists, and then you are framing whether it's a value to you or not. This great anecdote where like if you're an artist and you have a piece of art hanging in a window in some resort town, one of the strategies, if it's not selling, is to double the price. I know. Right? He's like, if your price is $15,000 in a window and it hasn't sold in a month, double it to $30,000, because the same person who's wandering around who's going to buy a $30,000 piece of art on a whim, they're also not the person who's wandering around buying it for $15,000. Like, it's actually not that big of a difference of the person, And so the audience is there for a luxury good. And so anyway, creating demand is a lot about, of course, people need to be aware. So I think, the old classic, I honestly never took a marketing class.
Me neither.
I don't know any, you know what I mean? And I actually think that's a benefit for us. Like, ignorance is bliss. But I think generally they talk about you have to create awareness and then consideration, and then you get them to purchase. And then, of course, on the back end, you need to be able to, that product needs to live up to the promise that you made on the front end.
Yeah. Yeah, that what you just said, I actually think, I have a hard time actually with the pricing issue when it comes to not selling.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like I read it. There was a book, Influence. Did you ever read that book?
No.
Everyone should read this book. If you're in sales marketing, read this book. And one of the examples they gave to the point you just made was, if you can't sell a product, raise the price. And this was the example they gave. There was somebody who owned a business and they had these like little trinkets out front, and it was like $10 for them, and no one would buy them.
Yeah.
So the owner came to the employee and said, these aren't selling. Let's mark them down to $1.
Right.
Right? And when she did it, she accidentally put $100. So she went from 10 to 100, right? He came back the next day, they're all gone. Or it wasn't a day, whatever. They're all gone. And he's going, what the heck just happened? And she goes, I raised the price to $100. He's baffled by it, right?
Yes.
We cannot get away from the perception that when it's more expensive, we think it's more valuable.
Totally.
Right? Like this happens to us with golf all the time. We're looking at wedges yesterday, right? And Mikey picks up a ping.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look at the Vokey or the TaylorMade.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of a price difference, right?
Yeah.
But it's like you assume it's better quality.
Totally.
I don't think it always is, but there's definitely an idea behind it.
Of course not.
What-
I love this, and I actually have a little bit of it on my site. Like I've really debated now at this point, like offering this hourly consulting. But Chris Do does a lot of good content around this stuff for like creatives and business.
I know who that is.
He's great. He's out in LA, and I've found his resources to be invaluable. And he said if people say yes to your price 3 times in a row, then it's not high enough.
Yeah.
And I've been practicing some of that, but I do like I started offering like hourly consulting, right? And I started at like 250. I literally Googled. I mean, dude, this is how green I am. I like left Nike. I'm like, how much does a marketing consultant make? You know? And it's like, oh, anywhere between $100 and $175 an hour. And I was for a good one. And I'm like, well, I'm an effing great one, so I'm going 250, right? I just start there, and people were paying it. So I've eventually raised my rate to $1,000 an hour. And I'm even going to probably raise that. But here's the other frame. We have to reframe that, because people will go, oh my gosh, $1,000 for an hour. And in my FAQs, I have one that's like, what about the cost? And it's like, if you're coming to me for less than $1,000 problem, I am not the person to help you. I have deep experience, and I think I'm pretty good at what I do. I hope that we are solving problems that are worth more than $1,000. If we're not, bro, you don't need me, you know? And so I feel emboldened. I could charge more than that, I think. And I would tell you, every single person who has opted in for it has been like, this is incredible. I would pay more for this. So I do think it is reframing sometimes, like what is on the other end. And, you know, and maybe this is a good segue to some finance talk, but when I got really into personal finance, there's so much talk and in like the FIRE movement. So I was in financial independence, retire early.
Were you part of FIRE movement?
I mean, I was like, I went deep down that rabbit hole because I love the idea of it. But one of the best things I've seen even recently is someone who says, you can't save your way to being rich. Like you can't penny pinch your way to getting rich. You need to figure out how to earn more on the other end as well. And so I think a lot about now, particularly as a business owner, what would I pay to not have to do this thing? Or what would I pay to get an hour back of my life? And so I outsource all kinds of things now, and I gladly pay whatever it is.
Gosh. Because
I put a reframing on like, well, what would I give to first not have to do that? I have a grill sitting in my house right now that's waiting to be assembled, you know? And I'm like, that would take me probably, 2 hours to do. I could make more. You know, the Naval has this whole thing, set and hold an aspirational rate for your time. Right. And then anything that costs you less than that, what you could earn in that hour, outsource. So I have a handyman who's $50 an hour. My God, like, are you telling me like to use that anecdote just a second ago? So I could make potentially $1,000 for an hour, but I'm going to give up 2 of them to build a grill? Are you kidding me? No, I'll pay him 50. I'll pay him 100. Shoot, I would pay him $1,000 to do that thing, but I don't want to have to do it, you know? So
I get so much crap from my wife about this, right? Because I don't do like handyman stuff. Nope.
I'm good.
Right? Faucet's not working. It's not going to work all year unless we call somebody.
Totally.
Right? I'm never under the sink. I don't put things together. Not my gig.
No.
Right? And so I have somebody come do it.
Of course.
And like, you know, she'll like, she's joking, but she's like, Mike, can you do anything?
Of course.
Yeah,
Could I? Yes.
You know, I'm like, babe, this is like, I'll be pretty cocky about it. This is just showing my brilliance, babe. Like, are you kidding me? Outsource.
Smarter, not harder,
He's going to
babe.
do it in a fraction of my time.
Yeah.
Now I get to hang out with you.
And-
Get to hang out with the kids.
And
I
you're
try to,
supporting and you're supporting others' employment.
yeah, look, I'm such a good guy.
I
right?
mean-
Hey, what do you think? What do you think? Let me think of the best way to say this. What's the biggest bet you made on your business that felt like an insanely high risk that paid off?
Biggest bet on my business.
It felt reckless when you were doing it.
I mean, I'll go back to when I was just trying to get a job at Nike. So we haven't, I mean, you know, maybe some people are familiar with my story. Recovered from heroin addiction after a year of incarceration 21 years ago. And I started to put my life back together, became a personal trainer, eventually went to community college, went and got a degree. And when I was getting my degree, I was certainly not thinking about like being, you know, 4.0 and all. I hated school. I was not very good at school, but I eventually learned to like it, and I love learning, but I just, you know, the school model was tough for me. But I then started to figure out like what I wanted to do, and I found this dream job at Nike, chased it for 4.5 years, did a whole bunch of grunt work and free work and volunteer and everything. On the final time when I was going to do an interview for this Dallas-based Eakin role, which is Nike spelled backwards, they're brand evangelist, this really cool, highly coveted job that I was competing against far superior talent, especially on paper. So I had worked on a nice resume, which is like table stakes. And then what I realized after one of the first times that I didn't get the job is you also need a portfolio, which is like, you know, an image-driven, really fancy, built-out version of a resume. And then, so I was doing that, but I also felt in my lack, I needed to go big. And so I reached out on, this is like early days of social, Twitter. And I reached out to these, I had started following these film students who had made this spec like music video that I thought was beautiful. And I had messaged them just being like, God, that was beautiful, y'all. Keep up the good work. I still to this day do that. Last night I sent some young country music star, like some, you know, not star, like he's got 5,000 followers, incredible, just amazing talent, and love encouraging creatives. And anyway, months later, I was like, hey, I had this idea. I wanted to make a short film telling my story through a series of sneakers and shoes that I had worn throughout the years and how I wanted to have this job. And so I bet after 4.5 years of chasing them, I'm about 30 years old, not making great money, like behind, you know, relative to my peers, way behind. And I spent $250 on a short film and then bribed them with like P.F. Chang's takeout and whatnot, which was like super fancy at the time. And that was a huge risk to me. All of that was an investment of like 4.5 years plus this final film. It was a lot of work to go do and film this thing when Nike could have just said no, like I didn't get the job. And it turned out to be the deciding factor of what they said yes. And I realized that sort of in my lack and in my ignorance, I could not rely upon the traditional metrics, and I had to like go big and double down on something that was outside the norm.
Right.
And that was a huge risk for me that felt a little bit irrational, but I realized I couldn't play the normal game. I had to play my game. I also put in my application letter to SMU, my opening line was heroin withdrawal is not my favorite pastime. Because I realized there was no chance, my record was, or my GPA and all that was not going to get me in alone. I had to like go for the like crazy story for them to do that. And so that's just time and time again, I've had to learn that throughout my story. And yeah, I mean, dude, leaving Nike,
Yeah, it was a big
it was
bet.
insane.
Yeah.
I had finally been a director, which was like early executive level. I was getting stock options. My bonus was great. I had a good salary.
running
I mean,
the
dude, had the
American
whole
dream.
thing. Was in campus. They were ready to promote me again. That VP was in sight. Like, I mean, it was, you know, the house in the hills and the Range Rover and all that were in sight. And then I'm like, actually, no, we need to move back to Dallas, Texas, so I can do what? Like,
Okay. So,
Anyway.
so this is an example of you taking a risk that paid off.
yes.
What's an investment you made that didn't pay off? Can you think of the worst investment or financial decision you've made so far?
Speaking of Range Rovers. I have this Land Rover Discovery out there that has been my dream. I've learned this lesson twice. I bought an Audi Allroad when I lived in Oregon, and
I had one of those ones.
did you?
Yeah.
I dreamed of that car for years. We had our second child. I got a great deal on like a used one, and basically it was so small. Like the back seat actually ended up. You think because it's a wagon, it's going to be big, but like we couldn't. If with a car seat behind me, like I had to be like hunched over the wheel like this because it wasn't just big enough.
Right.
I've made this mistake twice now, and I feel like the Lord will continue to teach me this. But like, and then I bought, leaving Nike, had to use my it was time for me to get a new car. I was driving a 2003 Lexus IS 300, which in some days I still wish I hadn't sold. It's the greatest car ever made. And it was like time. We needed a car with a third row. It was the height of inflation. It was peak used car insanity. So I looked at the normal. I wanted to get like a Lexus GX or something. I love Lexus, Toyota, long-lasting cars.
Right.
The previous two cars we had bought were old. Like I'm telling you, personal finance, bought with cash, best decision ever. And then I was looking at like Kia Tellurides. They were like $50,000, and I was just like, "What are we doing?" Well, for $40,000, I could get my dream car, a murdered out Land Rover Discovery with low miles, and like, so I did it. And I realized, and it was like kind of this hurried, I had to do it before I left my W-2 income for a loan, which I hadn't had a loan in a long time. And I'm able to do it under my business and all. So I've like made my peace with it, but it has irked me. It is like that decision.
Wait, I'm lost on the.
Oh,
what's
sorry.
the decision that went wrong?
The decision,
that you
so
bought
I'll
the
tell you
car?
this. I
Or
bought
that
the
there's
car.
debt on
No,
it?
I bought the car. I have the debt, which I don't love, but it's okay. And immediately it was, an oil change on that car is $650. The tires on that car are like Z-rated, but 22-inch tires. So like immediately, it was time for an oil change and some other checkup, and I'm like, wait a second, $4,000 at the mechanic for general checkup. And I knew this. I was eyes wide open. I knew this. But car purchases are irrational decisions. And so honestly, this isn't like, it didn't go up bust. It's not like a lemon or anything. It's been fine. It's been a fine car, but it has given me a slight amount of anxiety and stress for a couple of years that were probably not worth it in the end. And it just bothers me. I always watch their ad, and Land Rover, it's like capable of great things, and they show you like driving over the Sahara Desert, and I'm like, yeah, but it's incapable of very basic things, like not immediately slamming the trunk on your head when you're trying to get the groceries out. Like the freaking AirPlay not working if your battery on your phone is under 50%. Like, brother, I'm a content creator. Is my phone ever above 50%? Like, there's just some very basic things about this car that are stupid. And the thing that I've learned also, if you have small children and you need to learn this lesson, let me learn it for you. I had that gangster Audi Allroad with the black leather and the carbon fiber, and my Land Rover is murdered out, just the most beautiful, immaculate interior. If you have small children, do you know what they have? Their fingers are not immaculate. They're full of goldfish and sticky, and they have juice boxes and all of these things, and they will get that on your car. And so for me, I became this like crazy car dad where I'm like, dude, don't touch that. Don't touch that. Like, what? Get your crumbs. Like, no, I don't want you to eat your Chick-fil-A in my backseat, And it probably would have just been better for me to have a 10-year-old car that I don't care about. I had so much more peace of mind back then than I do with the like fancy car, even though when I walk out to it, I go, God, this thing looks so good. Anyway, Sorry. That's a long-winded way of just saying that's not the worst decision. But fortunately, brother, you have been such an amazing, you've been such an amazing resource. And all of you, just listen to this, man. You are like the modern day version. When I got deep into personal finance, I was searching around like, who is the short form creator who is going to take over like Dave Ramsey's spot? Because Dave Ramsey, he's got an amazing foundational stuff, but he's also a little, he's getting long in the tooth and he's got some wacky stuff. But like, who's the person who's going to be out there? And you are that, and you are that. And so I have, fortunately, by God's grace, have not made many crazy bad financial decisions because of wisdom that you have put out there and that many other people. And so I am incredibly grateful for that. And so I have often been able to do the calculus on what is the wise thing with money. And so I am very grateful to you for that and your friendship for that.
I appreciate
for real.
that. Let's test this out. You ready?
Yeah.
$10,000.
Yes.
How are you investing it?
Today?
Yeah. No, not today. You're starting out, right? Because you've now made the investment in your brand. You have demand. You are doing very well. I'm not saying we can't go further, but you're doing well. In the beginning, because one of the most common questions I get asked is, as you're stepping into making money or investing, or I have no investments, it's always $10,000. That seems to be the number, right? So if you had $10,000, that's all you had. What are you doing with it?
Do I have credit card debt?
No debt.
Ooh.
That's
usually not the case.
It's
usually not the case. Yeah, but no it's like kill the debt first. You know, we gotta go through the ladder, you know, of the foundations, but pay off the consumer debt. And then if you have a 401k match, you know, get that money, that free money first. And then, brother, you know, I'm putting it in a Vanguard index fund. If I know now what I know, or I'll, you know, I do think you could make a case for like, I'll get some education, or I'll take a portion of that to either invest in my business. An LLC is only $330, or, you know, a website is $25 a year. You know, there are a lot of things that you could do and set the foundations of a business. That's what I would be doing today as an entrepreneur. I would invest in something on the side that I have control over, that will allow me to earn in the future. And otherwise, I will put that in the market and just let it work, and I will set it and forget it. Get out of the way. I would not put that money in crypto. I would not put that money in day trading. I would not put that in sports gambling. Young men, please. There are so many ways. There is no such thing as getting rich quickly, although those are the stories that we hear the most. Oftentimes it happened gradually and then all at once. But there was a lot of moves that were made ahead of time before someone got rich quickly and overnight. And day trading and sports gambling and crypto are likely not going to be the ways to do that.
No crypto at all?
Me? I had some.
Got rid of it?
Yeah, I forgot about it. And then I was like, oh, Bitcoin hit whatever it was, $85,000. I don't know what it's at today.
And then you sold it?
Yeah, sold it. Invested in my business. One of the best things, Dustin is my financial advisor these days. He helps manage. He's like a family office person. I met him very early in entrepreneurship, and he was a godsend, absolute godsend.
What's his last name?
Dustin Eldridge. He has a business that he was founding. He's working to like help athletes. He helped manage wealthy, like $1 billion family, like family office. And he illuminated to my eyes like what a family office was, which I had always struggled with. My introduction to financial advisors were insurance salesmen.
Yeah, I know. That's one of the biggest scams out there.
Brother,
there is the financial. Can I just take
please.
a second?
Yeah, go.
Because too many people do this, and it's one thing that sets me off. If you're selling insurance, just sell insurance.
Totally.
Don't mask around and tell people you're a financial advisor when all you do is sell insurance. It's the most annoying thing because it immediately comes off as a scam, or it comes off that you're not proud of what you're doing. Either stand behind it, hold your head up, put your chest out, and say, I sell insurance. Let's go.
Totally.
Or get out of the way and go do something else. But
Absolutely.
Don't say you're a financial advisor. That one, if anybody that follows me does this, don't do it. You are destroying the amount of upside that you will potentially have in the future because you're killing your reputation before it even begins. Don't do that.
You know what, Mikey? I don't think that enough people know that. And I just felt like for the first several years when I would meet with those people, like I was being gaslit. There was something that wasn't adding up.
Okay, so that's all right. Man, this thing, I just realized.
I got put in a variable annuity.
Yeah.
At like 28 years old, making $27,000, this mother effer put me in a freaking variable annuities. It took me like 7 years to like untangle my way out of that. And once I finally took control and started to figure out this personal finance stuff, it was just ridiculous. And so I feel like there's almost no other area in our society that we allow that to go. Like a used car salesman, we don't call a car concierge. We call them a used car salesman. If you sell insurance, it's a valuable thing, life insurance, call yourself a life insurance salesperson. But we've let them just call themselves financial advisors when their highest motivation, the way that they make money, is to sell you life insurance and or annuities and God forbid, all those other things. And then they want your assets under management, which is fine, but let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah, let's just because we can stay on this. I'm gonna get too fired up. Let's just.
You and me, brother.
I want to lay the groundwork real quick. You and I are bad combos. We're gonna scorch earth on this whole freaking industry. Look, if you're gonna get a financial advisor, I've had one for 20 something years. I would recommend it. It has been a godsend for me. But not all financial advisors are equal.
Yes.
Right. Have somebody who's a financial planner that is going to help you invest, that's based on you and your goals, not a one-size-fits-all approach, and they're just going to rebalance your stocks and bonds. Bring somebody who actually understands, in my perspective, all the investments out there. I really think you need an advisor who is investing in alternative investments, personally, right? If they sell some insurance, look, I don't love that, but if they put that on the back end and they're not even going to present it to you until you are making $500,000 a year plus, I think I don't like that.
When should somebody just get simple term life insurance?
Yes. Look, so just so you guys know, everybody, for me, I have term insurance.
Yeah.
Right?
Same.
If I die, boom.
Family
it's
gets
so cheap.
Well, yeah.
Just do that. I do not use insurance as an investment vehicle.
Right.
That's the kicker, the investment vehicle, right? I'm not saying it doesn't open up at a time. It does, right? When you start getting into your wealth build and you try to keep as much of that in your pocket,
Totally.
there is an argument structured correctly that you can put money into an insurance policy that grows and then you just play the borrowing game.
Yeah, but later, way later, way late in the game.
You have to be considered, in my perspective, wealthy. Not rich, wealthy.
Amen.
Okay, so that would be my kind of blanket statement. And please, 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 if you're an insurance person, just be an insurance person. That frustrates me. Well, I got something for you, and I want you to just pick this apart.
Sure.
It's going to be a rapid fire.
All right.
We started doing this yesterday. So you're number 2, but I really enjoyed it. I'm going to hit you with an overrated, underrated. So I'm going to give you the question.
Yep.
You hit me with underrated, overrated.
Yep.
Personal branding.
Underrated.
Networking events.
Overrated.
Golf as a business tool.
Severely underrated.
Social media marketing.
Underrated.
Cold calling.
Oh, gosh. Overrated. Stop calling me.
Work-life balance.
Overrated.
Mentorship.
Underrated.
Having a morning routine.
Underrated.
Email marketing.
Exponentially overrated. Stop sending me emails. God, literally, if you email me cold to try to sell me something on principle, even if it is something I desperately need and want to buy and it is a great price, I will on principle not buy it. Do not email me. I would rather hurl myself into a sun than receive another email. For the love of God, stop emailing me.
Oh, I'm going to lose followers. AI in marketing.
Overrated severely.
Jordan Rogers, what an absolute pleasure.
It is the best. I'm so glad y'all are here.
How are people finding you? People want to work with you. People want to kind of get their brand in order.
At Jordan Rogers on Instagram, JordanRogers is where I'm most active. JordanRogers.xyz. We can put the links in the bio and all that. But look, where you can work with me is if you'd like to have me come speak to your team is probably the primary place. Individual consulting deals outside of like very specific and great healthy budgets are not really where I can serve best, but I love speaking. And I generally speak to teams, inspiring through my story and then sharing the wisdom that I've learned about storytelling and marketing and branding and how either employees can utilize that or companies and teams can utilize that. And so that's where I find great joy.
I'm going to finish this thing off with a golf question.
Let's do it.
If you were a pro golfer, would you be on Live or PGA?
How much money did Live offer? Just kidding. I'd probably stick to the PGA. But I honestly, I can't make that. All life circumstances are different, you know?
You're Bryson, they offer you 300 M's. Where are you going?
Yeah, if I were Bryson, I probably would have taken that. If I were any of those guys who were over there, I think a lot of us would like to sit on our high horse and say no, but I think there's a lot of factors, and I think all of them said yes for the reasons that some of them have just said. What I love about Dustin Johnson and Brooks are just like, yeah, bro, I get to play half as much and get paid 10 times more. Are you not taking that? You know, I mean, so everybody's got different life circumstances, but 300 M's if I were Bryson, I'd probably say yes. And look what Bryson has done. He's taken that money and has invested it in his brand. He has taken control of his brand. He is a primary example of this. He was hated 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He was the most unliked guy in golf. And today you could argue that he is the biggest star and most charismatic in golf.
I don't even think it's arguable. I think Bryson DeChambeau is the biggest thing in golf.
I think you're right. And that is simply because he took control of his own brand. It is really pretty simple, y'all. I mean, so that's why I say personal branding is underrated. In some ways, you see the buzzword everywhere and people are talking about it and there's a bunch of gurus selling you stuff. It is so underrated. I have a personal branding course that I sell on my thing. It's a workshop that I do with people. I priced it at $249, and there's times where I want to 5X that. Like, this is the biggest steal in the world. To pay $250 to get the learnings that are helping us like exponentially what we've been able to do through social and branding is like, brother, that would be worth $20,000. You know, I mean, there's no price you could put on that. And he has invested, who knows, a couple $1 million in his brand, but it has yielded him so much more. Last question. How much am I going to beat you by tomorrow in the golf course?
All right, listen.
I got you last time.
Okay, I have this strategy for everybody. I know, look, everybody needs to know my method.
How many strokes
and you're
do
going to
you want?
experience it tomorrow.
How many
You
strokes
ready?
do you need?
This is what I enjoy doing more than anything. I like building my friends up.
Totally.
That's first and foremost. I want to build them up.
Absolutely.
But I am competitive. So what ends up happening,
Same.
I build them up, get them so they feeling good.
Yeah.
And then when I take their legs
You
out,
lose to them on the 18th
the
hole.
fall is so big.
Oof.
Oh, it just is rewarding. Tomorrow,
Can't wait, brother.
I'm going to be looking at you as I'm putting. Just, I can't wait.
I can't
Everybody,
wait.
check out the pin high that Jordan Rogers and myself will be doing tomorrow. It's round 2. I lost the first one. I'm coming back with vengeance.
Indeed.
I'll see you tomorrow.
I can't wait. Oh, lastly, check out the Brandfathers podcast, my new podcast that I launched with my buddy Ashwin and Oren, 2 of the smartest guys that I know in the industry. Every Friday, we break down the latest in marketing and branding so that you can be better informed, and we're having a lot of fun with it.
Let's go.
Like, comment, subscribe. See you on the course tomorrow, brother.